Hey, what's up, gang? Ken here from the Retro Escapades channel in Malaysia. All right, so I was actually working on the review for the new Origins Wind Raider. Okay, that thing just landed here, right here in my hands in Malaysia just yesterday, and man, that thing's massive. And I was just kind of like trying to find the best way to get it reviewed because I know that there's been a couple of videos on that already, but I've not done my take on it. So I was working on that, and then I started to get a lot of DMs, a couple of messages from followers on the channel asking me to lay out my thoughts on the new Revelation cartoon that just came out yesterday. And of course, I've watched it just like you guys. Okay, I couldn't wait for it. Okay, I've been counting down the days until this thing hit. And I gotta say that the overall experience has left me with some mixed feelings, I would say, but I'm gonna get into it, and I'm gonna do it in a way that I'm gonna break it down by episode. So this video primarily is gonna be talking about the first episode, all right, and then I'll get around to doing the other episodes individually because I kind of think that each installment has something interesting there to offer, and I don't want to cram it all into just like one freaking video because I think there's quite a lot of stuff that I want to talk about. But the first episode, my goodness, you know what? When I was just waiting for this thing I was waiting for Netflix to just launch this thing, okay? Because we didn't know what time exactly was going up, all right? But then everybody started messaging in the group saying that this thing's out, okay? I switched it on, and the first couple of minutes where we saw the intro to the whole series, with the painted images of the entire universe and all the characters, and the title block came up, and the rousing score, man, I gotta tell you, no matter what frame of mind you're in, whether you're a diehard fan of the series or somebody that's been away for too long, and you're just getting pulled back in, this thing is designed to just suck you back into the universe. That opening sequence was just magical, all right? It's just freaking fantastic. The way that it was actually presented was great, okay? I love that opening sequence. Now, before I get into it, I just want to mention that this review is going to contain a lot of spoilers, all right? So if by any chance you've not watched the episode yet, wait, are you kidding me? You've not watched the episode yet? You gotta be joking, right? Okay, look, but of course you have, all right? But in the event that you've not, head out there, watch the episode first, and please come back and join the discussion here. All right, the first episode, The Power of Grayskull. Now, when the credits rolled and I saw that Kevin Smith was actually credited as the writer, I got pretty excited. Okay, I knew that he was executive producer. I didn't know that he was the writer for the episode. And I'm somebody who's very familiar with Kevin Smith's work in movies and comics. And I was expecting the characters to actually have, when Kevin Smith writes characters, there's always like an extra level of wit. All right, the characters always speak a lot funnier. They've got a ton of references to pull back on. I mean, they're always talking about some event or this event or some trivia about this and that. The thing is that I didn't quite see a lot of Kevin Smithisms, all right, in the writing. Okay, so that kind of got me a bit disappointed. Okay, I'm not saying that nobody said anything funny. Okay, all right, there were some attempts at humor, but it just seemed like it was like people trying to be funny, okay? Like the characters were trying to be funny to move the story along. And most of it did seem a little bit bland, but the writing was good, okay? A lot of the dialogue was very strong. Stronger, I think, than what we've seen in anything, definitely in the vintage cartoon, but maybe along the lines of what we've seen in the 2002 cartoon. Now, a big part of the reason why the internet has been moving into full meltdown mode, okay? Like full nuclear meltdown over the past couple of days, weeks, months, I don't know, okay, just basically everybody just going ballistic over the fact, definitely as of yesterday, okay, when the series, launched and premiered, okay, definitely as of yesterday, everybody's just losing their minds because of the fact that Teela is now the main showrunner and they phased out He-Man, and this is something that we've practically known about for the last couple of, weeks, months. And I've already mentioned it in one of my earlier videos that I'm actually okay with the direction because this is not something new to us, as fans of pop culture. It's nothing new here. This tactic or gimmick or storytelling process that's being offered here is just nothing fresh. Okay, we've seen this before many times in comics, movies, TV shows. Every so often, one of the main characters gets phased out, maybe the character's leaving or he dies or something like that, and somebody else like a supporting character steps up to take the lead, and this opens up a whole new doorway into much more different stories. All right, and whether or not it stays permanent, nobody knows, but it's just part of the process. Okay, it's something that I'm definitely used to. I think a lot of followers who are used to pop culture properties, hell, even Optimus Prime died, remember that? Okay, so it is really nothing new to us, and I was actually prepared to accept this, okay, and I was interested in seeing the direction that it would take. Having said that, I gotta say that I still came away feeling pretty disappointed. Okay, I gotta be straight up about that. Now, I'm a huge fan of Sarah Michelle Gellar since the 90s. Okay, I watched like every single episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayer and all the spin-offs. So when I find out that she's back in a big project like Masters of the Universe, I'm really happy. Okay, I'm happy for her. I'm happy that an actress that I followed so devotedly in my younger days, is back in a big scale project, and I expected the Teela character to actually have a little bit of that Buffy vibe to her, okay? That kick-ass, sort of like snappy dialogue, a lot of edginess to her. I kind of expected Teela to come across like that. But what we actually got, what I felt was actually presented to us was just something just so totally bland. It's not that I don't think that they didn't try. They tried pretty hard to put her in a lot of really engaging situations, but there's just something just missing from the element, okay, that just makes her a star, okay? Some X factor. I don't know. Maybe it's the dialogue, maybe it's the way that the character was written. Or maybe it's just the expectations that was placed on her, but the character just came across as being really dull to me. Okay, and it's not because I really wanted He-Man to be the star. By default, when I look at how He-Man was presented in this one, actually, he didn't really have much to do in the first place. And actually, to be honest with you, I mean, we expect He-Man to be the hero, but He-Man to me is like a character pretty much like, like Superman. Okay, he's an all-around do-gooder. There's rarely any shades of gray. So, he just does good stuff. Okay, right? He preaches good, he does good. He's just an all-around responsible adult. Okay, he's just an all-around responsible parent-like figure, and after a while, it does get a bit boring. Let's be honest. Okay, for a property that's supposed to remain constantly engaging and entertaining, there has to be different layers to the characters, and it seems like for characters like He-Man and Superman, the only way to venture into that area is to completely flip them around or to present an entirely different version of them. That's why we have things like the anti-Eternia He-Man, or even situations where Superman turns bad. Okay, like in Superman 3, things like that. I'm not saying that characters need to be evil or bad to be interesting, but it's just that every so often we just we crave for different interpretations of them, and sometimes this leads to some extremities, I think, with the storytelling, but it's all in the name of entertainment and to keep the whole process fresh. Okay, because ultimately, even if you're a diehard fan, you do lose interest after a while. Okay, so if these guys are not the stars that they're supposed to be, then who is the star? Okay, who is the star of Revelation? Well, for me personally, that turned out to be Evil-Lyn. Now, right from the get-go, right from the moment that the character of Evil-Lyn was introduced, I was like completely pulled, okay, just completely sucked into the character, all right? I immediately wanted to see more of her, okay? I just wanted to see her on the screen. That's how captivating I felt that the character was being presented to us. The voice work by Lena Headey, honestly, is just spot on, all right? There's even moments in the animation where I could actually see the actual actress in the animation, all right? I think she's like probably the only character where I could actually visualize as playing a live action version of Evil-Lyn, all right? Okay, like Lena Headey could be the live action Evil-Lyn, all right? Not so much with the other characters that we got there, all right? I mean, the voice work overall was serviceable, but to me, probably nothing really outstanding other than when it came to Evil-Lyn, all right? And the Evil-Lyn story arc was just so much more interesting than any of the other characters that we saw. And a big part of that is because we get to find out that Evil-Lyn is not really such a bad person. I mean, she is capable of being good. She is capable of human emotions like kindness. Okay, she can be a sweetheart. All right, and that to me is so much more interesting. That to me is a much more interesting character trait to follow, a much more interesting character arc to endure through, to enjoy on screen than anything else that was presented here. Okay, and in many ways, I think that Masters of the Universe Revelation was really about the story of Evil-Lyn. Okay, in this first 5 episodes, it was really about her story. Okay, in many ways, like how Star Wars is really actually supposed to be about the story of Darth Vader's journey. Not so much about the heroes, okay? Not so much about whoever Luke Skywalker has to fight or whatever the heroes have got to do. It's more about the journey of the villain, all right? And to me, Evil-Lyn basically steals the entire show. Now, I like how the show starts with us being pulled straight into the conflict without wasting a moment. Okay, we see He-Man with Stridor, his faithful horse, and he's escorting these two villains, Clawful and Spycore, to the gates of Castle Grayskull, and the sorceress lets him in, only to find out that actually it's not He-Man. So that was pretty interesting, okay? It was pretty interesting to find out that all those characters that we saw were actually all in disguise through Evil-Lyn's magic, and that He-Man was in fact Faker, okay? There's a great fight scene there between Faker and the sorceress. It kind of makes me want that Faker action figure a little bit more now, except that it turns out that he's a damn exclusive, right? Okay, but it turns out that the Clawful and Spycore characters are also in disguise. Clawful is actually Evil-Lyn, and Spycore turns out to be Skeletor. I was actually pretty excited when I saw Spycore because he's a really kind of a obscure secondary character. So to see him there within the first few minutes, that was like, whoa, that was like a great fan moment. About the Mark Hamill voice work on Skeletor, of course, it was fantastic, but it was one of those situations where you already expect it to be great. Okay, so it didn't come as so much of a surprise when it turns out that it was in fact fantastic. Okay, it's like asking Alex Ross to do a comic book cover. How else is it going to turn out? All right, the real surprise would be if it turned out bad, right? Now, the heroes and villains soon all assemble at the gates of Castle Grayskull, all right, to save the sorceress, and then we get this huge, sprawling, epic action sequence, which is, I think, what every launching premiere episode should be able to deliver on. Okay, if it's Masters of the Universe, it's supposed to be big and epic, and we get that. Okay, there's a lot of great stuff here that happens. We get to see a lot of heroes and villains just popping up. Clamchamp, Fisto, Triclops, Trapjaw. It's great. I mean, as a fan, I'm just like trying to like spot everything that's going on, and it's happening very fast. Okay, the one thing that I kind of wish that we got to see a little bit more of is more sort of like exchanges of dialogue between the heroes and the bad guys. Like when they're fighting, it's usually just wordless action. Okay, they don't really say much. We see Triclops buzzing around and he's smiling to himself, but we don't really see him actually say anything in the first episode. So I kind of felt that if we got a little bit more of this kind of like character interaction, however brief, it would have just added a little bit more weight. Now, while the battle is raging outside, the heroes are gearing up within the castle for the final battle. But then Mossman turns up. Okay, Mossman turns up to say a few words. And this bit where Skeletor just completely fries him. Okay, just fries him into crispy leaves. Man, that was a bit shocking. Okay, it's like the character just turned up and immediately he got shot down. It's like, it kind of reminds me of that Jay-Z song where it says grand opening, grand closing. It's like first appearance, last appearance. Okay, so that was a bit shocking because Mossman is actually in the wave 1 of the Revelations figure series, and it turns out that he just gets killed, okay, in the first episode itself. Yeah, but he gets fried badly, and it's like everybody's in shock. Okay, even Evil-Lyn and Teela are having a go at it, and then when they hear the dead screams of Mossman, even Evil-Lyn pauses for a while there. So that was kind of like a standout scene for me because it kind of shows that the producers wanted us to know that they weren't messing around. Okay, characters can die in this series. Speaking of character deaths, it looks like they're just getting started because a few minutes later, both He-Man and Skeletor bite the dust. That's right, both of them get incinerated in a blinding explosion. Okay, this is one that just wipes out the two main guys. All that's left is just some bits of clothing and some artifacts, stuff like that. All right, these guys are gone. We don't know for sure whether they're actually dead at this point, but they're just gone, okay, just disappeared in that blinding explosion. And this leaves the shocking truth, okay, to be revealed, all right, because in his final moments, it is revealed that He-Man is in fact just a little boy named Adam. So of course, Skeletor's shocked at this. The real surprise here is how come Skeletor didn't realize this, or couldn't use his magical powers to discover He-Man's secret all these years. But of course, Teela, this comes as a huge shock for her, right? Because apparently, and as it turns out, she's one of the very few heroes who doesn't know that Adam is He-Man. I mean, check this out. Orko knew, all right? Battle Cat knew. Her father, Man-at-Arms, knew. I mean, the sorcerers knew about it, all right? King Randor didn't know about it, all right? He-Man's parents, Adam's parents, King Randor definitely didn't know about it. But it was alluded to that Adam's mom, Queen Melina, suspected all along, or probably knew it for a fact. But that doesn't really come as too much of a surprise to us because, hell, the woman's his mother, right? What wouldn't she know? Also, if you recall, I mean, those of you who may have read the Marvel Masters of the Universe comic book series from the 80s, somewhere towards the last two issues, which was issues 12 and 13, I would think that the storyline in those particular issues were probably the closest that will come to something that we saw in Revelation, all right? Really post-apocalyptic stuff. It was also revealed that Queen Melina knew about Adam's secret identity all along. Now, this first episode kind of ends on a very, very bleak note. King Randor banishes Man-at-Arms forever from the palace for keeping the secret from him all along. It's just get out of my sight, you scum. And Teela decides to leave as well because she's just sick and tired of all the lies, okay, that she's been told. So it's kind of dramatic stuff. People have a parting of ways. I would say that overall, I thought that the first episode was pretty good, okay? It was pretty solid. If you just take it for what it is as a standalone piece, if you don't really want to get too much into the rest of the episodes, if you just took the first episode alone by itself, it's pretty solid stuff. I would rate it maybe a 7 out of 10, okay? Now, I'm going to review the rest of the episodes separately, but I want to hear what you guys think of the first episode, okay? Just the first episode, all right? Overall, taken as it is, okay, without going too much into what happens, the rest of the way, but just the first episode as a standalone piece. What do you guys think about it? Let me know in the comments. And of course, stay subscribed to the channel, and I'll catch you guys again real soon.